What's up, friend? A couple of days ago we got Succession update for Sorc on EU and NA. So what is Succession? For most classes, Succession is just a dumbed-down version of the pre-awakening skill tree with a ridiculous power creep and overall easier to play. For Sorc, it's something else. I'll start by saying what you're here for. Yes, Succession is good. Not only it's good, I'd say it's broken and better than Awakening in almost every single aspect of the game. PA recently said that they want the players to feel like they're making a hard choice, picking between Awakening and Succession. For Sorc players, it's a very hard moral choice, because holy shit, you're gonna feel bad by blasting people by spamming random ranged nukes. PvE is straight up better than Awakening at every single stage of the game. Early on you can grind places like Pilaku with pretty much no gear whatsoever. It's kind of embarrassing really. And I've personally tested 3 out of 4 endgame spots. Star's End is so much faster than before. I would say like 500 to 700 trash more. Ackman went from a traumatic experience to a pretty chill grind spot. And Histra seems to be a little faster. Probably it's the spot that had least of an inkpad. And I asked some friends that are really good at grinding Sikraya, and they told me that we are faster there too. Now, let's see the PvP. In 1v1, the class is very boring in my opinion. It completely changes the way you play the class. Instead of looking for openings, now you're just blasting and rotating your stuff until what's in front of you dies. I hope I'm wrong about this and there is more skill involved when I learn the class better, but for now it's really unsatisfying to duel with Succession. Our burst is insane now. I was melting high evasion targets without even down smashing. It feels way too overtuned. I do still think that Awakening is better in 1v1, because it has higher outplay potential and a bit more survivability, but we'll see with time, I guess. I'm not 100% sure how the class will be played in small scale and RBF, but the damage output is ridiculous. And we are kind of a mid-range class now that occasionally goes in to burst. Our ranged damage is so nutty that there is very little reason to go in and risk your life inside the enemy blob. Alright, so these are all the changes that we got from Succession. We have a new skill tree, as you can see here. It's main, Succession, Awakening. We cannot use any Awakening skill, kinda. I'll explain in a second. If we use Succession and vice versa, we can't use Succession if you use Awakening. But if you do use Succession, you have 2 Awakening skill. 2, I guess, Succession versions of Awakening skill. We have Violation, and we have Turn Backslash. Now, these 2 skills are not the same as the side version. So Violation has now a frontal block, does not CC anymore. What else? It's slightly different in damage too. It seems to be a lot more damage. Should be still 12 hits. Let me see. So it's still 12 hits, but there's more of the higher damage hits, so overall it's more hits. It's a foil in PvE, but not in PvP. So yeah, it's a frontal block again, but no CC in PvP. TBS, it's very similar. We can still cancel it, as you can see there's the full cast, and then there's the cancel version. It's a bit easier to do. It feels a bit weird. This is probably one of the skills that I feel didn't get the biggest buff. Maybe I just haven't played with it too much yet, but it's still a good bound, still a good CC, and it's part of one of the most cancerous cancels of all time, which is the ranged spam of Abyssal Flame. So Abyssal Flame is a skill that most people had locked for the longest time, and for good reasons. It was not as good of a skill, but now it's probably one of the strongest skills for the class. I'll show you the cancel, but I wanna go from top to bottom to show all the skills. So anyway, this is the cancel. It's a ridiculous amount of damage. So Abyssal Vanguard is the E buff. It's the new E buff. You have to hotkey yourself. It's not E or Shift E. Like some classes have. It's still super armor. The only difference is that it has casting speed instead of evasion. I think this is actually worse for PvP, because casting speed kind of makes you run out of cooldowns. I'll show you. I have it on the button next to 1. and I mean it's a cool skill. It's of course it's better for PvP, sorry, for PvE, and might be worse for PvP, but just barely. You just burn through your resources so faster now. Anyway, so that's the debuff, 3 minutes. So Prime Agent of Abyss. So this gives 200 max mana. That's kind of weird. And this is a ridiculous buff. They kind of, I guess, dumbed down the pre-buffing in this game, or the buffing, because with Sorc you had to juggle your Fragments of Darkness. You had to get to 30, and then you press Q, and you would get the 20 AP buff. Now look how all of these skills, it's ridiculous buff. All of these skills, so Samina Stinger, Rushing Crow, Ultimate Shadow Eruption, Big Kick, and Ultimate Dark Flame. So you need to have the shards, but when you have the shards, you don't need to press Q anymore. You can just use any of these skills, and your buff refreshes. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It makes keeping your buff up so much easier. It's a good change. I mean, it makes the class a bit less tedious to play, but that was also one of the appeal, I guess, of the class. So we have, I think this is 7 AP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 AP for free, like that. Close of Darkness. Close of Darkness seems to be the most underwhelming change for the class so far. I don't have any target now to show you, but even on a downed target, it's just very underwhelming damage. Even as a cleanup, I don't know, this feels very, very underwhelming. Crowflare is the skill that probably changed the most. And so before, Crowflare was just some extra damage, would allow you to use Big Kick to do evasion debuff. Now Crowflare is the new C-swap. So now, before Sorc would go like iframe, C to linger the frontal, and now we kinda do that with Crowflare. So the frontal block lingers for the entire animation. So this is like fully frontal block. And it has a ridiculous amount of things going on. So if you manage to block something with Crowflare, so now it's a frontal guard. If you manage to block something, you get 15% cast speed buff for 10 seconds. This is huge, this is massive. Like before this, we considered the 10% cast speed buff from Shadow Eruption a game changer, and this is 15 for 10, so it's 5% more for twice the duration. We get 30 Fragments of Darkness on successful block. Again, it's mind-blowingly strong. It's just free shit thrown at you like nothing. And it's a minus 15% cast speed and attack speed on the opponent. This is massive. So if you are an attack speed base class, you already knew how AIDS it was to like get hit by Engulfing Shadow by a Sorc. It would slow your attack speed, and this means make pretty much every single skill slower, even the mobility ones. But now we have a casting speed version as well, so we can. This is a counter also to casting speed classes. So this skill just went from kind of a skill that was there to probably one of the strongest in the kit. This is ridiculously strong. 2-second cooldown as well. It's just, this is broken. Moving on. Samina Stinger. So Samina Stinger is a bit weird now. You kinda, I'm not 100% sure how this works yet, but I think you need Ultimate Samina Stinger now in order to do the extended version. So if you see, it has a much bigger range than before, much longer range. You can do some pretty crazy thing with it. But it consumes shards. If you look at the shards, it should consume 10. I have 28 now. Yeah, it consumes 10. Of course, if you hit the skill, you gain shards back. It is a bit weird. It doesn't flow as well as it used to, especially the Scattering Shadow right feels really, really weird. There is a way to to make scattering flow a bit better, which is to tap left mouse button right after you cast the Stinger, so that it pretty much you Stinger and then you basic auto attack, and that functions as a cancel. So that's not as bad, but yeah, it doesn't flow as fast as before, so I'm still considering if I want to keep this or not. Then we have Rushing Crow. Rushing Crow is your new Shadow Lip. So Rushing Crow is now, it's a super armor now. I think it has an opening at the end. I'm pretty sure the ending animation, that one, it's unprotected, so it's not completely protected. It's not completely super armor. The range is ridiculous. Let me show you. The range is just nutty. It's absolutely ridiculous. And look at this. I even hit the one in the back. And on top of it, it has so many cancels. So you can make it fully protected by using Dark Flame at the end. You can make it fully protected by using Violation at the end. But overall, super solid skill. It's pretty much our new mobility skill. And I think it's overall better than Shadow Lip. It feels better. I need some more playtest for I guess a more solid opinion. Oh yeah, it also consumes shards for increased range. So both Stinger and Rushing Crow have longer range if you have shards. Shadow Eruption. Shadow Eruption is more damage. The biggest difference with Shadow Eruption is that now it does like a small hop forward, like a small step forward, and this makes the skill actually slower to cancel. So before, I'll show with Shadow Ignition. So before, we could cast at that speed pretty much and still land the skill. It's almost an insta cancel. But now with the new Shadow Eruption, as you can see, it's not as fast. It needs that frontal hop animation to cast the skill. So that's Shadow Ignition, much faster. And that's Shadow Eruption. It's enough to make a difference, in my opinion. So the skill, I guess, I would even say the skill received a small nerf because of it. Next we have Black Wave. Black Wave is another skill that got so many changes, it's ridiculous. So before it was kind of a meme skill. I mean, if you would get Black Waved, it was the prime sign of BM, of getting BM. Now Black Wave is pretty much the combo finisher. It's a down smash every single hit. So after a KD, all of those hits could potentially down smash, and they usually do. It's I've almost never had so far a Black Wave that did not down smash, and has so many cancels. So you have you could press F to make it pop instantly. So you see your down smash is not going through. You just press F and it pops for the extra damage. Then there is the Ultimate Shadow Eruption cancel, which is by pressing W and LMB. That's a cool cancel. Not too sure why you would want to land a KD after Black Wave. It's maybe to reset. Not 100% sure. It also consumes shards for the F thing, but you generate them while casting it, so that's not going to be an issue. Then we have Dark Flame. Dark Flame, another skill that got decent changes. So Dark Flame, well, you can rotate it much better than before. So before you could rotate Dark Flame, but it wasn't as smooth. Now you can rotate it pretty much just by flicking, and it's really smooth. Really, really smooth. It's frontal block as usual. The range is, guess what changed the most? Is that it has an incredible range. And we're gonna use this a lot for grinding. It's pretty much a massive cone in front of us. And as I said, it has some cancels. Like for example, after Violation, you can cast Ultimate Dark Flame. There's also that cancel. You can use Violation into the first hit of Dark Flame into TBS. It's interesting. What else? And for Dark Flame, that's pretty much it. Now, Bloody Calamity. Bloody Calamity is another skill that got massive changes. So first of all, you want it now on hotbar. I mean, you can also fully cast it outside of hotbar, but that requires you to iframe. That's not always necessarily what you want to do. So now if you cast it, it's a super armor. So all of this is super armor, and you get into this Dream of Doom-like position, which is also super armor, and you can cast a ranged nuke. This is not Dream of Doom, this is just another skill. This is still Bloody Calamity, which deals a fuck ton of damage. And I would say it's one of the best additions to the class. So as I said, we are pretty much a mid-range class now. We can go Bloody Calamari into Insta Dream of Doom, into just spamming Abyssal Flame. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's really strong. So this is super good addition. You can also fully cast it by keeping spacebar pressed after you iframe. So there you go. It's a bit faster. It's pretty much still the same damage. But I see, for example, hard casting it a way to maybe bait people or save some stun. Dream of Doom. Dream of Doom is just... I mean, the basic Dream of Doom didn't change much, just the damage. What changed is the 100%. Again, just the damage, but it's insane damage. This is a massive nuke. The new 100% is... We're probably gonna see some... I mean, not like Tamer Ultimate type of nukes, but it might come close. I still have to do a node work with it. I'll try, because not having 50% anymore, what am I gonna do with my rage? I'll probably either try to see how good Dream of Doom is in blobs, or I'll just feed it to Tamers. Okay, Abyssal Flame, another skill that got massively improved. As I said, it used to be a skill that most Sorcs locked, and now it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously strong. So it heals you. It has multiple CCs and multiple interactions and cancels. So if you hard cast it like so, it's a knockdown. And there's actually another interaction where if you hard cast it and then cast it again, you hard cast it twice. I'll show you. This, like on a soft cap DP with my AP, this would kill someone. I'm not even kidding. This would actually two-shot someone. Before, you could only hard cast it by iframing backwards. Now that changed. Now every single direction is a hard cast. So every single iframe direction is a hard cast. Turnback slash is a hard cast. So you don't even need to iframe to do the cancel TBS. This could be a way to save stamina. So it's just a cannon spam. When it's cancel hard casted, so like this, or with an iframe, it's a stiffness, not a knockdown. It's still pretty good. I mean, it's still a CC with a ranged nuke, which also heals you. This skill has very few weaknesses. I would say the biggest weakness is that it's unprotected, and it does require it. Like the animation is not necessarily super fast. It's similar. Imagine it something similar to the warrior spear spam, but with 10 times the damage. And then turnback slash, still a bound violation. Already went over this. Rabams are still the same. Might consider Abyssal Blow because we are now a mid-range class. I'm not sure. I'll test it a little bit. I like the mobility of engulfing too much though to give that away. I think it's gonna need some testing. Anyway, those are the skills of the Succession kit, but some skills from the Pre-Awakening kit got changed as well. Silence of Agony now slows. I think that's the only change. It's also maybe longer range because it says attack range up twice. This got nerfed in Global Lab. This used to be 3 casts, so it would automatically cast to the 3 closest targets. Now it's still 1 and it's a slow, so I guess that's the only change. Another super weird skill that got changed is Dark Trade. So now Dark Trade, if you are below 30% HP, if you use it, it consumes mana instead of HP for the fragments, and what it does, it also is super armor. So this is very, very interesting. I do see this as, like, the animation is so short, that it almost doesn't matter, but I do see some big plays coming out from this. So that's exciting, I guess. What else got changed? Yeah, big kick is just extra damage, so it just deals more damage. Oh yeah, and it has long range when used. Let me get some HP back. It is long range. It's like medium range now, I guess, when you have fragments. So look at this. It's kind of ridiculous because it's also bound, so it's a CC, and it doesn't make much sense in my opinion. It's like the range is a bit too big. It's not. It doesn't have like a good animation. It's not like it launches something. It's just you kick the air, and you land the CC pretty much. I can see these landing some really sneaky CCs on people that are just not close. So that's something I think is gonna get used a lot when people kind of start to realize how to use it and when to use it. And that is pretty much it for the skills that got changed with Succession. I don't want to stretch the video too much as this is just a first impression, but my initial thoughts on Sorc Succession is that it's probably the best Succession released so far, both in terms of design and strength. Sure, it is easier to play than Awakening, but it does offer quite a lot of complexity with all the new councils and skills. Everything flows super well and feels good while doing it. My biggest worry is that tankiness in this game will be just less and less meaningful, and that we'll be always playing a one-shot fest. I hope it does get nerfed. I will be playing Succession until I feel like I learned the class properly, and will release a combo guide and an overall Sorc progression guide. So see you on stream or in the next video. Kisses!